Hi everyone, this is welcome to Isha. So this is Vibhu. I'm having some 12 years of experience in performance testing and engineering, and I'm associated with this Splunk. I was doing this Splunk since around 4 years. Okay, let's start. So what we'll do, right? First I will explain what is Splunk. Okay, so later I will be discussing about the course agenda. What we'll be covering as part of this course. First, we will be discussing. There are many people who don't know Splunk also. I mean to say they don't know what Splunk is because they will be familiar with App App Dynamics and other monitoring tools like Dynatrace. But some Splunk is something new for them. Okay, so we will discuss what are logs basically. So before going to what is Splunk, right? We will discuss what are logs. Logs are something but nothing but those are the snippets that are generated. Okay, those are the snippets that are generated in the application, right? So what log contains? Log contains some data. Okay, so by using the data which is generated in logs, right, we will come to know what is happening in the application or environment. So in application, right, we will be having different types of logs that can be related to something your custom logs or like Apache Tom, that if it is an Apache Tomcat, right, you will be having in the Catalina dot sorry, that Apache access dot logs, and if it is a JBoss server, you will be having the JBoss logs. Apart from that, right, we will be having some custom logs which you will write in a different path, correct? And environment, let us assume your application is deployed in Azure, AWS, or on VMware or Zen server, right? So in that environment, that VMware or this stuff also will have some set of logs, right? So these logs will be used to analyze the issues. If something happens, let us assume there is some failure in the application, right? So it helps us to dig into that within no time. Let us assume my application is having some 100 servers. Okay, I am holding some retail application like Amazon.com, for which I have some 100 servers in picture. So normally a tester or a developer or an IT support guy can't log into these 100 machines and check where actually the error is. So let us assume out of some 10,000 transactions, 2 transactions got failed, and it is a business critical application, so there should not be any failure at all. So in order to get into that particular log, right, it will take lot of time and effort for anyone who look into that, right? So okay, till now clear, right? Now this is software application architecture. Let us assume 10 years back, right, we used to have a standalone application where you will be having your web server, app server, and DB server. Everything was deployed in one machine. Okay, so in that machine, right, the time taken for the analysis will be very minimal because all the logs are present in the same machine. Whereas in the current trend, right, we are going for microservices, and we are spinning the multiple instances of AWS and Azure instances for running some application. So it will be hard to find for us where exactly in which node there is a failure. Okay, that it is complicated to find an issue like that. So now we will come to the Splunk. So what is Splunk basically? Splunk is nothing but a log management software. Okay, log management software. Log management software means what it will do actually is this. In this architecture, right, where you are having some distributed architecture, where you are having some multiple machines. Okay, we are having some multiple machines there. Okay, let us assume here I am having some 100 machines. Okay, 100 instances. what Splunk will do, right? There will be some, this is one machine, okay? This is one machine, something like that. We are having some another machine. What Splunk will do, right? It will get all the logs, okay? Whatever that are present, that may be like OS logs or application logs, your custom logs, whatever you write, everything it will ship to something called Splunk. Splunk indexer we will call. So everything will be, all the logs will be shipped to this Splunk indexer. Once the logs get shipped, right, then we can analyze the data, managing the data, and we can search the raw data. So whatever that comes into the indexer, right, that is called as raw data. So, so I will come to this. Okay. So what do you mean by analyzing? Analyzing is, who will be analyzing the logs, and analyzing the logs is, let us assume like there is some Amazon.com, okay, and in that retail application, right, there will be like n number of transactions that will be happening, okay, and let us assume like I am a seller, okay, I will be selling some products. As a seller, I want to know how my business is running, and I will be shipping like multiple categories, like I will be shipping mobiles, I will be shipping some electronic and laptops and tablets, and apart from that I will be selling some other electronic items. So I have some limited budget. So based on the trail or the trend or the customer's response, right, I will be investing my money in procuring those items, whether it can be mobiles or laptops or webcams or headphones. So it gives some, this Splunk will give those seller some insight of where to invest money properly, such that he will get the more revenue. He will get more revenue. When it comes, that is called as that is for the business. When it comes to a tester, now you are running some automation suite, or you are running some performance test for 1 hour or something, and you want to analyze the failures in the logs as well, right? So Splunk is being used for that. When it comes to a operations guy or a support guy who will be monitoring the production servers, they will be having some dashboards like how many errors, how is the trend, how many hits are happening, and what is the health status of the servers, okay, whether the heartbeat URLs will be there, right, for each and every application. In a distributed environment where we are having multiple microservices and multiple machines, all the machines will be sitting under one load balancer. So under one load balancer, you will be having some 50 to 60 machines. So as a production support guy, he needs to verify whether that individual node is working properly or not. Else, this load balancer will put this machine out of the loop, out of the cluster. If it doesn't respond within 30 seconds or 40 seconds, right, it will move that. It will remove that node itself from the server. So as a production guy, he has to log in, and he has to fix it, and he has to attach it to the same load balancer. Okay, Splunk is being used for that one. And managing in the sense, let us assume like here how the Splunk manages the logs. Okay, how, let us assume, as I told, right, I am having some 30 machines here, okay, in my distributed environment I am having some 30 machines, out of which each application, right, each node is sending some 5 logs. It is sending some 5 logs, okay, and like that, for a project, how many you will have? Let us assume there is one project, you will be having some 50 or 60 logs. Let us assume like for that customer, he is running some 20 projects. It will be doubled or tripled, or like it will be like, you will be having some hundreds of logs, right, that needs to be organized in a proper manner. Basically Splunk does that. So each and every project data it will be putting in one index. So each project data will be kept under one index. Index is nothing but a bucket. So let us assume like I am running for one project called P1. Okay, P1. Then it will be shipped to this. If I run some project called P2, that will be shipped to this bucket. Why we need this managing efficiently? Because I can't dump all the logs into one folder and I can't fetch the data. I can't fetch the data easily. Let us assume now you are having some library. How in library, right? You will be organizing the books in a efficient manner such that we will be splitting like based on the genres of the books, right? Such that it is easy if someone wants, right, they can go to that shelf or rack where of that particular genre and they can get the book, right? In the same way it will categorize everything as some each project data, it will put in one bucket. Okay, and it will improve the efficiency of the performance searching. If the data is managed well in the indexer properly and we can search efficiently using Splunk, right? We can get the, it can store the data of last 8 years or 9 years or 10 years, but we can't store those data in the OS itself, right? Let us assume I am running one retail application like Amazon.com. Every 5 minutes or 6 minutes are based on your log rotation will happen, right? Either it can be like time based or it can be something like based on the size of the file. After that, right, the logs will be deleted or archived. So let us assume like there is one scenario, okay? There is one scenario where I got one issue on some day X day, okay? But that has been identified. So in production, right, I have identified one issue. So I want to, and my project runs for around two years or 1 year, okay? Before product, it goes, before it goes to like live, okay? Before it goes to live, now my manager asked me, have you seen this issue priorly? Okay, the support team will be sending those logs, right? I got this issue. So we can search within last 2 years whether I got this issue or whether I got this error or not. We can confidently say like, okay, this issue is not there or that issue is present in the logs. Okay, and nowadays, right, actually Splunk is being used in big data as well. Any doubts till now? Can I move on? Yeah. So like why we need Splunk? In order to manage these like logs, right? Now in order to manage these complex environments, whatever we have today in Kubernetes or whatever, right, which will like in microservice also, what will happen? Each microservice will generate one set of log, right? So if you are having some 150 microservice for a project, then we have to verify logs for those 50 microservices. And the calls will be interconnected, right? Microservice 1 will call microservice 2, microservice 2 will call microservice 3, and sometimes based on the transaction, the flow also may vary. Sometimes microservices 5 will call microservice 10 and it will produce the result. So in this complex state, right, Splunk, if we have this Splunk in place, we can analyze the issue within no time. So why is Splunk popular? Okay. So currently, what are the applications we have? Currently, we are having something like applications which are deployed in some Windows or Linux with OS. Okay, so Splunk will monitor these logs, or it will be able to ship these logs. So 90%, right, or like 70, 80 per 85% of 90 mostly. It will be like 90% of the Splunk, 90% of the data which is coming from to Splunk is from these application servers which are deployed in this OS. This OS can be like Windows, Linux, or whatever. Okay, so Splunk can ship this data to the indexer. Okay, there is one component called Splunk indexer which will store the logs, and there are something like DB servers. Okay, from actually where this application data will be stored, for applications, right, the data or the logs will be stored in the flat file systems, correct? But whereas DB, right, it is not stored in the flat file system, it is basically stored in the DB itself. They will be having some table, okay, something like audit or something. Okay, all the transactions whatever happened in that application will come and get accumulated in this table. So if I want to fetch the data, right, I have to export this data from these tables and put into the Splunk. Okay, and this will be something like some 10%, and there will be something like IoT devices or routers. So Splunk can monitor all this. It can take the data from anything, I mean like 7% and 3%. Okay, so Splunk can get data from anywhere. Means like it can get it from the applications, or it can get it from DB, and it can get from the IoT devices or routers. If you are having some Alexa or something like that, we can get the data from there also if you configure. Okay, that's why I mentioned like it can monitor anything, any source, any location, and any amount. So this is the Splunk indexer. Basically what it will be doing, right, it can fetch the data from Windows machine, and it can fetch the data from the Linux machines, and it can copy these server logs, or it can monitor the processes also. Okay, and it can monitor the configuration. And when it comes to the virtualization cloud, right, there will be some VMwares or like Zen servers which will be running these Windows and Linux operating systems. So Splunk is capable of monitoring the complete VMware logs as well. So let us assume like there is one scenario where I am running some test. Okay, I am not getting proper throughput or proper. I am not meeting the expectation of the client. So I have verified in my logs. I have verified over here in Windows logs, and let us assume my application server is deployed in Windows and my DB server is deployed in Windows. I didn't see any fault in those two machines. And next I have to verify the, let us assume like there may be a chance like our ESXi host also may be causing that issue, right? So in such cases, right, we need to monitor this virtualization host logs as well. For a production support guy, they will monitor this Windows, Linux, as well as this hypervisor which holds this OSS also, guest operating system. And when it comes to applications, yeah, applications, we will be having different type of applications, and these can be monitored, and it can monitor the database, tables, logs, audit, and even it can monitor the routers as well. Okay, in for routers, right, actually the tricky part from router, right, routers won't store any log. Okay, it is just a device which is having some minor memory and minor, right, so it can't store. So there we will be having some SNMP traps or something which will be monitoring those. So Splunk can get the data from these routers also. Okay, if he is a customer, let us assume like it is a customer, right? He want, as I told in priorly, in the prior example, I am a seller and I want to know what is the trend of the what is the current trend. Means like, let us assume like this is something like rainy season. Okay, so I want to sell the product based on that season. For that, right, what I will do, I will analyze the last year's data in this current month or in this current last year, what happened, how are the sales for different products. Based on the trend, I can I can procure those items, right? I can procure those goods and I can sell it. Okay. Okay. And yeah. So who uses Splunk? Basically, Splunk is being used by the IT support guys. They will be used to, it will be used by the support guys. Use it for monitoring the production systems. Okay, whenever they see any failure like which is breaching the SLA defined for them, it will send an alert, so they can have a dashboard and they can do this. Okay, and it can be used by the data scientists as well. Okay, and based on, as I mentioned in the prior example, if a data scientist job is to, customer can't get the data, right? There will be a data scientist who will be analyzing the data and provide the trend to the customer. Okay, and security analyst, let us assume like I am having some infrastructure of around like 2000 machines. Now a hacker can hack any one of the system, and if I want to find on which system he hacked, I have to, it will be tough for me to go into each and every machine and check, right? In the current trend, right, we are having so many security breaches in the current. So they will ship all these logs into one Splunk indexer, and the security analyst will monitor like what are the attempts, login failure attempts, and who is trying to attack the system. And business users, okay, business users will extract some information based on their need. Okay, so now we will discuss, now I'm done with this one, we will discuss on what we will actually, what is the course. So as part of our course, right, what we will discuss, like we will be discussing like what is Splunk. Okay, and what are the latest versions. Okay, what okay, and how many types of softwares are needed to deploy, I mean like to install the Splunk and to ship the logs into the logs to the indexer. Okay, just a second. Yeah. Okay, and we'll be discussing on the licenses. Basically, like there will be two type of licenses: enterprise license as the developer license as well. And one more thing, right, will be actually Splunk will provide like some 15 days of trial period for a SaaS application. Okay, so if you don't want to install Splunk and if you want to practice, right, there will be some SaaS application which is available. Okay, you can log in into it, you can create one SaaS application and you can start working on it. And we'll be discussing like what are the platforms that are supported for Splunk. Okay, like if I want to install Splunk indexer, there will be two components basically: Splunk forwarder and Splunk software as such, Splunk enterprise software. So forwarder is something like which is used, it is an agent which is used to ship the data to the Splunk. So we will be discussing on how to install all the Splunk enterprise as well as the forwarders. We will be discussing on Windows, we will be discussing on the installation of Linux, and there will be two types of installations. One is star installation and RPM based installation. Okay, and we'll be discussing on like how to get the data into Splunk. Okay, I'll show. So actually this is a Splunk UI. Okay, we will like, so this is called as basically an index. So index is something like a bucket which stores the data. So it is every index, like for every project, right, you will be having one or more indexes. Okay, and if whatever the logs that are shipped, right, that can be extracted in this UI. This is called as like search head. Just give me a second. So these are the applications logs. Okay, these are being shipped into this logs, right? This is one transaction, get transaction, this is post transaction. Okay, so we'll be discussing about this stuff. Okay, how to ship the data into the Splunk, how to get the data into the Splunk. Okay, and and as I mentioned, like we'll be going through the RPM based installation and tar based installation. This RPM based installation will work on CentOS as well as the Red Hat. And if you are going with some Ubuntu, or if you want to go with some other Linux which doesn't support this RPM based, right, we can go with the tar file installation. Okay, and as I mentioned, like here we'll be like how to get this data here. Now we'll be discussing like if you don't have any live monitoring or live application, right, we can upload our data into the Splunk, and we can execute the Splunk queries. So we'll be discussing on like how to get the data into the Splunk, and we'll be seeing the universal forwarder. Like let us assume like this is like, one second, universal forwarder. Okay, now I will show one thing. Just give me a second. So I will show something. Actually, I have two machines over here. Okay, this is my Splunk indexer which collects the logs, and I have one more machine. One second, I'll close this. So I have one machine which is 66, which is the Splunk indexer, and there is some other machine which is like 28, which is my universal, where I have configured the universal forwarder. Okay, so I have one snippet. Okay, I don't have live application. What I am trying to do, right? This is the log. Okay, which I am creating one log. This is one sample log, which this script will, this sh shell script will generate this log. Okay, so what I will be doing, right? This log will be shipped to this path. Okay, where app1 AWS. Okay, now what I will do, right? Here there is one separate index that is being created. Okay, in this index, this is the events, like how many snippets are, how many events are there. Okay, this is like 299. So what I will do now, right, I will execute this shell script, and this shell script will do, right, you know this append operator, right, in Linux, it will append these Splunk logs to this corresponding file. Then you see here the count will increase 255, 237, 239. I will discuss in detail these time pickers and all those. See, my events are getting increased, right? So I am able to ship the logs from source to my Splunk indexer. You see, each and every line is one input, whatever we are getting, right? I am transferring the data at very low pace. I am not flooding the Splunk. Okay, see, this is changing. 613 I have, 616, right here. You see the milliseconds, 619. So I will show like how to configure this. How I will install one application, and I will be setting one log path, something like this. Okay, and I will show you the configuration in our advanced classes, how to configure the Splunk forwarder and indexer such that the logs can be shipped. For now, I am closing. I want to kill this actually. Okay, this is good. Fine. Now we won't get any data. Here around how many we have? I have stopped the Splunk. So the count won't change because I'm not getting data. 261 events only. Okay. And we will see this how to configure and all those in our classes. And we'll be seeing like how to configure in a demo, and we'll be discussing of various types of users basically. For a production support guy or a tester, right? Sorry, for a tester or a developer tester, right? They will be giving in office, they will be giving the user access. And for production support guys, sometimes for some people who are experienced, they will be giving the power user access. And there will be a separate role called like a role group called administrator, who will be managing the complete Splunk. So these people can create the users, and these people can create the dashboards and configurations, and those things we'll be discussing in our class. Okay, and we'll be creating like how to create a new Splunk index, and we'll be discussing on like the overview. Here, right, there is an overview like this is one index app one. So we'll be discussing what is visualization, stats and patterns and all those in depth in our future classes. And we'll be discussing more on the indexes here, and we'll be going to the we'll be discussing on like how to use the pipe operator, what is its significance, and what is the search keyword, and we'll be using some operators, and we'll be writing some queries, and we'll be discussing on the knowledge objects, and we'll be discussing on like how to extract the fields. Extract the fields is something like here I am getting this data, right? I'm getting some action is equal to this one. Okay, add to cart, item ID is equal to this one, product is equal to something, right? I have to get these things in my, this value should be stored in some variable. Let us assume like there is something called as JSession ID, which holds the session ID. Here there is something called as JSession ID. If I want to search anything related to this session ID, I will just click this one, and all the logs that are pertaining to that particular JSession ID will be displayed. There are around like 22 events for that, 22 actions that has been performed as part of this JSession ID. So something like that we'll be discussing. Here there are some 22 events, right? So he has done some like purchase, he has made some and its success, and it has done some add to cart operations. So like how to nail down on like the issue, or like how to track based on the session ID, how to like debug based on the session ID, right? We'll be discussing. And these are the commands. There will be some delimiter and how to extract these fields, basically like how we will get this data. Okay, how you can create these are called as fields, how to create this, get the data into these fields. Okay, these things we will discuss. Like there is something called like action which has some purchase, add to cart, view and change quality. So we will be discussing these things, and we'll be discussing these Splunk commands, okay, Splunk queries as part of our SPL, and then we'll be creating the dashboard. So I will show one demo. So let us assume like I'm having a Splunk query which is very big. Okay, so I I have to execute it as a production guy, or like as a tester, right? I have to copy the Splunk queries every time in order to execute, right? So let us assume like if I have a shortcut something like this, the all the query I am like storing in one keyword. If I execute that keyword, right, I am getting the result. So in our classes we will discuss like how to store this data, how to create these macros. These are called as macros basically. So how to create a macro? Whenever I issue a macro, right, then the results will be displayed. I no need to write the complete Splunk query every time or copy paste. I will be storing that Splunk query in the Splunk itself as a macro, and I will just give the keyword. Then my it will display the events that are pertaining to that particular keyword. We'll discuss those, and we'll be discussing more of the charts, like how to create the dashboards and all those. So what we'll be discussing in the dashboards is, yeah, okay, how the dashboard looks, right? I'll show one sample dashboard. I'll take a duplicate session of it. So I will be teaching like how to create these dashboards. Let us assume like there is some category called like purchase. Just now we saw, right, purchase, add to cart and view. So if I want to see like how many add to cart happened, if I click submit, I'm getting. So I will be teaching like how to create these drop downs and these time pickers. Time picker is something like we can get last 24 days or like 4 days or 60 minutes or everything, or like every time. I mean like all time or today view. See, automatically it is fetching us the data. Okay, and there is one more thing which I want to show you. There are two types of drop downs. One is like static drop down and dynamic drop down. Index, if I give index is equal to app1, it will display the logs pertaining to that particular indexer. Okay, I'm giving the all time. So if you see here, right, there is something called as action. This action is having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 fields. But here, right, on the day one or like in first month or in the second sprint, I have created a dashboard which are having only 3. During that time, right, the other two functionalities are not ready. Here, there are something like remove, which is not ready during my first sprint. But again, on the third sprint, I have to revisit, right? I have to revisit and change or configure the dashboard. Instead of that, right, it is a static. Basically, the values in this drop down are static. And there is one more dashboard which is called as like dynamic dashboard. In this dynamic dashboard, right, even though if you add some 2 more actions, this is dynamic, right? So now we have 5 categories. Okay, let us assume like on the sprint 15 you are having some 100 items that are listed over here, right? You no need to reconfigure everything. We can create a dashboard such that it will pick the data dynamically. So we can make this as dynamic drop down list also. Okay, these things we will discuss, and we'll be discussing like how to add these time pickers and all those. And let us assume like there is one dashboard which is a sample dashboard which I will show you. It displays category wise. Okay, there is something called add to cart. Okay, in that these are the error codes which I got. Functionality wise we can create a chart such that it will give a clear insight. Okay, by seeing this, right, I know, right, add to cart and purchase are having lesser errors, and this purchase is having 503 error more. Whereas this change quality and remove, right, these are having most number of errors. So it will give an insight for a developer where exactly and which is the priority one. Got it? Now, as a that is for a developer. Let us assume like I am seeing this 503 recently, which was not there in the prior sprint or prior release. So what I have to do, right? I have to create a Jira link. I can configure my Splunk such that if I click this, right, if I click something in dashboard, what I have done, right, I have clicked this one in dashboard, it redirected to my Jira. So if I am having my Jira as with SS4, right, I will directly log into the Jira. If you want to, by seeing this dashboard as a tester, if you want, or a production support guy, if you want to raise a ticket, you no need to like open that Jira or something. We can directly link it in the Splunk itself, and whenever we click this, right, it will open that Jira corresponding URL. And we'll be discussing something like this a lot. Actually, there will be like different types of charts that are available. So we'll be looking into those like we saw right here, like this is the bar chart, and we'll be having single valued, the chart with a single value. It will have only the metric. Okay, single valued chart. So we will be discussing a lot on those charts. And as I mentioned, right, we'll be discussing that these are called as the drill downs. We'll be discussing on how to configure a custom URL or how to configure a search. Let us assume like there is one parent dashboard, and when I click, right, it has to go to the child dashboard. So those things we will discuss, and we'll be discussing on the reports, alerts, how to schedule a report, and we'll be discussing on the Splunk apps, and we'll be discussing on what is Splunk app and what is add-on. Let us assume like there is one app which I have installed called as like license usage. So we'll take one or two sample apps and we'll be discussing on. So these apps will be having predefined queries. Okay. So we have to import and install and do some configurations. So it will this app, right, whatever I have installed, license usage, it is giving me whatever the bytes that I have used. So if I'm a Splunk admin, I can see in my indexer what is how many bytes have been transmitted. Okay, and it will be giving me the stats of the data of last 7 days, 30 days, or last 90 days. If I select the span, it will be displaying what is the GB it has utilized, what is this percentage, and what are the top 20 indexers. If I am having multiple indexers, right, as a Splunk admin, right, he has to see who is consuming, which project is consuming more data. Okay, so those insights we'll be getting using the Splunk app. So this is one of the sample app, and we'll be discussing some 2 or 3 apps additionally. This, and we'll be discussing on like what is add-on and from which source you are getting the data, something like that. And there is some 2 types of installations for these apps. One is like online and offline. We'll be discussing both. And let us assume like for one thing is clear, right? If you want to use the Splunk, let us assume you need to write the Splunk queries. Okay, you need to write some Splunk queries. Let us assume in my previous slide I have showed, right, business users like BA or a customer, right? He can't write a query. He won't be like technical. He is not a technical guy, but he wants to analyze the data. Okay, there is one beautiful feature in Splunk which is called as like pivot table, okay, pivot charts or pivot table, okay. Using this pivot thing, right, without writing the Splunk queries, we can create the dashboards. I will show one example of a dashboard which is created using the pivot. Okay, I have to go to this search. So I am clicking this dashboard. For this dashboard, right, I haven't written the query. Okay, using pivot, I have developed this dashboard. If I do a edit and if I do a search, right, not this one, yes, one second. One second, there is one query which I have written. Yeah, pivot demo. So it is listing me the count of add to cart events and what is the change quantity, how many purchases happened, and how many removed the items from the cart, and how many viewed the goods, right? So this is one table, but I haven't written any Splunk query. Using there is one query which is involved over here. Using the pivot, right? This is the pivot actually. Using UA only, I will be able to create these dashboards. So we will be discussing like how to create the data using these pivots. And we'll be discussing like multiple things in our classes. And we'll be having some lookups. This is also one interesting feature. And we'll be discussing like if there is some issue with configuring the Splunk indexer and forwarder, right? Then we'll be discussing like how to troubleshoot. So for that we'll be having, and how to verify the logs. I mean, like if you are configuring some stuff, okay, you are installing some app, or if you are installing some um, um, Splunk universal forwarder to ship the logs, if the data is not coming, right, if the data is not reaching the indexer, how to debug the issues. Those things we will discuss in the classes. Yeah, I am done. Like any questions or their expectations? And let me know your expectations, like if you want something more, or whether it is some because this course is like more extensive. It can say it covers there will be something called like in Splunk Fundamentals 1 and Splunk Fundamentals 2. Actually, it will support these two certifications. Okay, this is an extensive. Actually, it is not only for performance testers, but it is for mostly for everyone. From next batch, right? It will be like a certification oriented training. We will be renaming it. Over to you guys. If you have any questions, I will be answering.
Um, Hi, Gupta. Uh, Thanks for sharing your knowledge. We have many doubts, so but
You are
I
not
can,
your voice is breaking. It is giving lot of
what about now?
a bit better.
Yeah, it's good. It was a session. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. And I have many questions on the Splunk area. So, but anyway, you are going to cover that next couple of days. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm basically I'm looking for mainly on technical part, how the Splunk is collecting the logs with the different data sources and how we managing Splunk is managing different queries and how we create different dashboards which is helping the business to the business. So I'm looking for that kind of session going on.
Yeah, yeah, I will be like, actually this is a Splunk developer course initially, but as people are asking, right, they want something like a admin course as well. So we have incorporated this admin topics. If you see, right, some of them are like admin, these installations and app installations, these are the admins. So as you mentioned, right, I will be explaining, I will be taking session on, let us assume like there is a custom log which is generated, how to ship those logs to the indexer, okay, and that is residing on an OS, like it can be Linux, okay, and I will be teaching like how to create the charts as I mentioned right here. So what are the different types of charts, and there will be something called alerts. Alert is something like whenever there is, you will be having in production something like one SLA, like within 5 minutes I should not encounter more than 60 errors, okay. I can create a alert such that if I get any errors more than 50, I will be getting one mail. And we'll be discussing on reports. Let us assume like a tester or a production guy, right? He wants to know what happened on the yesterday. If he wants to, if he is like, if it is a product based company, right? They will get these metrics because they will be doing daily one patches and build upgrades, right? So they will keep these reports safely such that if they want to see when this trend, like let us assume like there is some failure we are seeing, okay, and that failure is keep on increasing as the like as the number of patches or builds are upgrading. So if he wants to store these things in some like if so if he wants to store, right, then what he will do, right, he will be configuring the reports on daily basis such that he will get what is the number of transaction paused, number of transactions failed in that reports. So we'll be using that reports further. We'll be discussing those as well, apart from whatever you have mentioned, right, dashboards. So once we get the dashboard, what you have to do, that also we'll be discussing. Yeah, over to you. Next question.
Next question from my end, Gupta.
Sorry.
No questions.
No questions. Others? Like how many of you guys know what is Splunk prior to this session? Or how many people are using the Splunk?
I have the knowledge on Splunk, minimal knowledge, and I don't have any experience technical wise, I don't have any experience. And like my knowledge about Splunk within the day, I got that is the reason I want to take a technical.
Okay, okay. So for like if he's like someone is from performance testing, right? How we will use the Splunk, right? Let us assume you have ran one performance test, okay, per 1 hour duration. So your app monitoring tool, right? It won't give you an insight of which functionality has failures. Let us assume like there is something called application 1 which will talk to application 2 and that will talk to application 3 and application 3 will talk to DB and it will fetch or it will write into that. In that complicated system, right, the Splunk will be put in every component, like it can be like application 1 to application 3, application 1, application 2, application 3, as well as in DB, and it will extract all the logs over here. If you see your load runner or JMeter, it will give you the end-to-end transaction result only, okay, for you guys. But let us assume like there is an issue with middle layer like app 2 and app 3. Okay, there is some performance bottleneck in app 2 and app 3. How you will find out? AppD won't provide a summary something like this, right? If I capture for every application, if I have some dashboard something like this, then it will be easy for me to nail down the issue. Using AppD, right, it will give you a what is the transaction it is failed, and you won't find hits per second. Okay, in AppD or in Introscope or like in Dynatrace, it will give you overall hits per second that are reaching the server. Whereas in Splunk, for every action, I will be able to capture the number of hits. Okay, got it? So like for performance testing, this is very useful basically. Like most number of errors, right, whatever we get, right, that can be debugged well in the Splunk. If someone is using Splunk efficiently, right, they won't link into the AppD. So initially, first they will see the Splunk dashboard. Whenever they see the breach, then they will go to that particular timestamp and they will see the AppD or like Dynatrace for that particular duration. Yeah. And actually we can integrate, we can get the OS, if we have these apps, right, we can get that OS metrics like CPU and memory into these apps. We'll be discussing that, like how to get the data from an OS. Okay, from, let us assume like if I have some Linux which is running and it is hosting an application from Splunk, I can get the CPU and I can get the memory out of it. Okay, that we will discuss in the class. I don't have that as a demo, but I will show in the class. I will take one session on that. Yeah, over to you guys. Or let me know what is the expectation. I think I have given mostly everything, right?
What is the minimum configuration in the system to run the demo installation demo?
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, and actually one more. Can Pradeep, can you go on mute? So actually this Splunk, right, it will open some new opportunities as well, like for people, right, who want to shift, right, if you are a production guy, if you got used to Splunk, right, it will open career in two streams basically. One is Splunk developer. Okay, Splunk developer will create this dashboard something like this, okay, for that project. So there is a separate role called as Splunk developer who will be explicitly, he will be working only on these queries. This is the one role. And there will be one more role called Splunk admin. Let us assume like if one person is like good at configuring the systems, okay, he's good at Linux and he know how to configure, how to get the data and all those, like from different sources like application, DB and all those, right? There will be one more role called like Splunk admin who will be basically doing the administrative part, as I mentioned, right? So that is the role that will be opened. And actually Splunk architecture, right, for an admin, right, for you it is looking simple, but in real time, right, we will be having some hundreds of servers in Splunk. Okay, Splunk architecture, in Splunk we will be having some multiple machines like 150 or 200 machines. In order to maintain the 200 machines, we need one admin. And Splunk, whatever I have seen, right, Splunk will monitor around like 50,000, 60,000 or 1 lakh machines. Means like it will get the data from, let if you take an organization, if you take one client like Citibank, okay, he will be having some enormous number of machines, right, from you will be having, if you assume a big client called City, he will be having some lakhs of machines. Like, so Splunk is capable of getting data from these 1 lakh machines. You will think like, do we really have these 1 lakh machines? But yes, and Splunk is doing that. In order to maintain this 1 lakh machines, let us assume like if you want to configure, like in 1 lakh machines, you will be having logs from different locations, right? So if you want to ship those logs, right, that is the job of the admin who will be configuring those in all those servers. And if there is some patch upgrades in the universal forwarder or something, he will be doing that. That is the role of the Splunk admin. Actually, this Splunk admin, Splunk itself is a different stream. Okay, it will. Let us assume I will tell one example. There is one thing called Rupee and Mastercard, right? So Mastercard will have one dashboard. Okay, from each bank, how many transactions happened and what is the amount. Instead of going to the DB and checking, if he can expose that interface to the Splunk, right? If I run some small query or if I have some dashboard, it will give me, just if I select something called, like I will show one example, like if I select something called as ICICI Bank or something, right? Within seconds, it will give him the number of transactions as well as the amount that got accumulated, and what are the transactions, number of transactions that are failed and amount associated with it. Got it? Splunk has numerous uses. You don't think like Splunk with only the performance perspective, but if someone wants to take the opportunity to shift their career, right, it is a good option. In future classes, like after 2-3 sessions, we will be adding the admin as well. We have plans for that. Yeah, actually I'm done, so over to you. Okay, I will stop the recording.